What a beautiful place for us to start our tour. My name is Carolina. I'll be your tour guide this evening for Tours by Foot London. We're going to be taking you down the docklands to talk about pirates and pints. Can't do much better than that. Now, if you enjoy tonight's tour, what I recommend you do is book with us as a team building event for you and your company, or even as a family. It's a great way to connect with those you love or those you want to work with. Now, let's make our way on to our first stop, Prospect of Whitby. So here we are inside of the Prospect of Whitby, absolutely stunning pub. You can probably feel the atmosphere already just by looking around. You see out there, we're literally on top of the water because the tide is high enough that it almost feels like this pub is floating. Now, there has been a dock behind us. It used to be a very infamous dock, and it was known as the Execution Dock, where those that might have a pint inside of here would be arrested for maybe the piracy they'd committed and then find themselves hanging by the noose that you can actually see out the window right now. Now, some very famous pirates still lose their lives here, but I'm going to tell you about one of my favorites. His name was Captain Kidd. Now, many people say he wasn't actually a pirate, falsely accused. The reason they say this is that he stole a ship called the Quedagh Marchant. And the Quedagh Marchant was actually an Armenian ship, but it had been chartered by the French. Now, the French we were at war with at the time, and we were stealing all the things we could find of theirs out at sea. But the problem was it was captained by an Englishman, and Captain Kidd shouldn't have stolen the ship because not only was it captained by an English person, but actually the goods inside were owned by an Indian Mughal. And we had a lot of trade with this Mughal, and we really shouldn't have, pissed him off in this way. And so because of this, him stealing this ship, he becomes known as a pirate. Now, when he finds this out, he very quickly stows treasure somewhere mysterious. In fact, for many years, we had no idea where this treasure was put. It's actually the inspiration for a little-known book, you might know it, Treasure Island. Nonetheless, he is finally caught in New York and then sent to England, where he is actually brought to trial and will face his fate off the dock that would have been the Execution Dock, which used to be right behind where we're sitting right now. So there you go, Prospect of Whitby. So here we are in Wapping Station, which is an incredible station, a lot of history, mostly famous though because it was where we had our first underground tunnel built here in London. This height of the industrial period, actually bringing on the industrial period. Mark and Isambard Brunel come up with the idea of a shield tunnel where you use a shield to build through the ground underneath the rivers to be able to go all the way across the river without actually going in the river or above it. So really incredible kind of innovation. And this actually tells about how close we came to not even having this at all. Isambard Brunel was down below building this tunnel when water started to seep through the cracks and actually pin him and a few other men underground underneath the shafts that fell through with the water itself. If he had not escaped, who knows, maybe we wouldn't be standing here today, but he did, and it led off what would become the very important Industrial Revolution, all the trade that came with that, and honestly, a lot of the docklands history we'll talk about today is because of how much industrialism was brought on by the Brunels, the father and son duo that are so famous in our architecture and industrialism, even still used today. So, Brunel. So next pub of the evening, of course, we are here at the town of Ramsgate, here in the Docklands area of London. Now, it's got a long history. This pub goes all the way back to, some say, all the way to the War of the Roses in the 1400s, more likely, though, in the mid-1500s, and actually it used to be known by a different name. It was known as the Old Red Cow. Now, apparently it was named after a very buxom barmaid who happened to be a ginger that served you a drink when you were here in that time period, but it did get its name changed in 1811 to the town of Ramsgate, for the reason that there used to be a bunch of individuals from Ramsgate, fishermen, that would come up the River Thames to sell their recently caught fish. They didn't want to pay the taxes the City of London had to offer at Billingsgate, and so would save themselves a bit of money by dropping their wares and their fish here right at the docks that would have stood down the stairwell to my left, which is actually where we have the Wapping old stairs remaining today. In fact, actually, before we go into the pub, why don't I take you down that staircase and we can talk about somebody, a very infamous individual who's known as the hanging judge. But I could tell you from here, tell you there, rather tell you there. Follow me this way, we'll make our way to the Wapping old stairs. So This is a very interesting alleyway I've just brought you down. Quite a creepy kind of feeling to it. And honestly, it will have had a creepy past. A lot of sailors would have found their fate with being stolen for the Navy, which we'll talk about in a few stops from now, as that was happening quite a lot in this area of the docklands. Quite creepy right now as well. But keep recording, I guess. I'll try to keep myself to my own fate tonight. Nonetheless, this is also where we would have apprehended Judge Jeffreys, often referred to as the hanging judge. Quite a nefarious individual he was. He really enjoyed the suffering of those that tried to take the crown from James II. If you don't know about King James II, he was a Catholic king in a country that wasn't keen on having a Catholic king any longer. In fact, he almost lost his throne to his nephew, James, Duke of Monmouth. You might have heard about if you watched my other video. He's a guy that ended up being caught for this and actually would be, taken by the axe down at the Tower Hill execution site. But Judge Jeffrey gets this notoriety to him for not being very kind to those that are not Catholic and those that don't respect James II. But things go against him when the daughter of James II, Mary, convenes with her husband, William. You know the duo, William and Mary. They take England in the Glorious Revolution. James II on the run, and Judge Jeffreys with not many friends in his corner. Now he's trying to escape to Europe, maybe to Hamburg actually, when he comes to the pub here at the town of Ramsgate, dressed as a sailor, looking like he's going to go take the next ship out, when somebody recognizes him. Now, many of these attorneys that have been harangued and harassed by him during the period of his hanging judge time, they know his face. They'll never forget it. And so they let the other people know in the pub, and they take him into custody. They bring him down to the Tower of London, and he'll meet his fate in the dungeons below. Will never escape that tower himself. Funny, as though he had that fate for so many else, he receives the same. Nonetheless, now a very kind of creepy spot all on its own with the water swirling below us. Why don't we make our way a bit more cozy inside to the pub itself, just around the corner, town of Ramsgate. Time for a pint. So behind me in this very interesting looking building, this is the Wapping River Police Station. Now they take care of all of the issues that happen down here in the docklands and on the river itself for policing here in London. But this is actually also the first place where we had a police force at all. 1798, we have the Thames River Police begin, and they begin for what we kind of already talked about. This area is known for piracy. In fact, at this point in history, in 1797, before the police forces started, it is estimated that around £550,000 of goods are being stolen by pirates into London and into all of the United Kingdom by these pirates. In today's money, that's worth around £65 million, so quite a loss. And so we decide at the height of the pirate trade to try to put a butt in it, and how we do that is we start a police station here. But they weren't very well liked at first, as you can imagine. Quite a lot of people are making a living down here at the docklands, whether you think piracy is a living or not. That's how it was. And so 2,000 people riot the police station. Leads to our first ever line of duty passing away of a police officer. His name was Gabriel Franks. Now, the actual police as we know them in the United Kingdom today wouldn't start until 1829, 30 years later, but they would be inspired by the efforts of those that started here at what was the Thames River Police that then would become the Wapping Police. So, pretty crazy stop, but a good one to have in the middle of a pirates and pub tour. Make our way on to our next one. It's got to be a pub. Is the Turner's Old Star. Now, Turner's Old Star is a well-beloved pub here in the Docklands area of London, and it's been here since the 1830s. Now, it was gifted in an inheritance to a man by the name of J.M.W. Turner, but he didn't name it the Turner's Old Star. He named it just the Old Star, and he actually had the proprietor made because she was his mistress, and her name was Sophia Booth. Now, he had a secret life entirely. J.M.W. to the rest of town and the ton of London was known as an incredible painter, very well liked by the lords and ladies. Little did they know he had a background of gambling, drinking, and a bit of fun over here in the Docklands. In fact, he went by an entirely different alias here in the Docklands area. He was called Puggy Booth. In fact, he took his mistress's last name when he was in the docklands, kind of ahead of his time in that way. But nonetheless, this is gifted to his mistress, and they live out their lives, having a nice time at this pub when he's not out in town painting for the very wealthy. And then he passes away, and this secret life that he has is revealed to the public, not only because of this pub and otherwise, but because a lot of his paintings are shown to the public, and they're not the usual ones they had from him before. They're a little bit more salacious. Let you take your own guesses as to what he would paint in those, but just think of the gambling, the women, and the drink, and you might have an idea. Nonetheless, when you're here in the Docklands area, you should check out the Old Star yourself. And if you don't come on your own, come with me. We have a private tour, and I'll show you and tell you even more that this pub and many others have to offer. So here I am on the Alderman steps. Now these Alderman stairs are very old, at least back to the 1600s, likely older than that, but that's our first record of them. And they would have been a place that would have connected you to the docks below. However, the tide would have come up either way, and so even if you worked on these docks, these steps were always quite treacherous. Don't know if you can tell from me standing here, I've got green all around me. That's algae. The tide line actually is much above my head. Thank goodness we came here at low tide for my own safety, because I will say the safety of those that have come here before was not always prioritized. It used to be well known that if you worked in the docklands, whether in the Navy, whether as a pirate, whether as somebody just in the trade of the wharfs, it was not a safe profession. Yes, because of the river, but also just because of the treacherous steps like these ones. But it's not the only thing I want to tell you about treachery when it comes to the docklands. There was a very infamous individual, or we think an individual, but maybe they weren't real at all. Now his name was Spring-Heeled Jack. He's called as such because he used to hide around corners, and as you were making your way, whether you were a woman or a police officer, his usual targets, he would jump out of the distance in front of you, giving you a quite literal jump scare, and then you would see him in his terrible outfit, this oil-skinned, very tight white outfit, and then he would blow blue fire at you, and then jump right over you. There you go. That's why he's called Jumping Jack in a way. Nonetheless, terrible, terrible thing to come upon, and we never were able to figure out who he was. The police went after him, tried to figure out who it could be. They were never ever put it all together, so was he a real individual? Was he a poltergeist? Was he a ghoul? When it's London, you never really know. Either way, these are the Alderman steps. Let's make our way to something a little bit more joyful. Maybe a pub or a pint. Next stop, here we are, Dickens Inn. Now, you can probably tell already this is a very rambunctious and great place to have a pint, but it's got a lot of history as well. In fact, the spot that it's on, this is St. Catherine's Docks. Now, St. Catherine's Docks is really where the Docklands got its heart and got its foundation as we started to see trade come into London in massive appeal in the 1800s. This area went from being St. Catherine's Hospital to St. Catherine's Docks. Now, there was actually already this building here, though what it was, we're not exactly sure. Could have been a tea house, might have been a King's Brewery. Either way, they did move it 70 meters east from its original location, pillar by pillar in the 1800s, to where it now stands. It didn't become a pub until actually 1976, at least from the knowledge we have, and it was made a pub by the guy that gives the place its name, actually, or really his grandfather. His name was Cedric Dickens. His grandfather, of course, Charles Dickens. Now, he would say to the public, I can't imagine an establishment that my grandfather would have loved more than this spot right here. And I have to agree with him. I mean, look around you. This is exactly what Dickens has in all of his novels. Yes, the revelry, also all of the interests of trade and otherwise. And so a great place for us to come on our tour. Next time, if you want to see how great it is, you'll just have to come with me in person. But let's make our way in for a pint now to have a look inside. This is a beautiful park here in the middle of the Docklands area, but likely has seen some of the very infamous behavior that was associated with press gangs in the early 1800s during the Napoleonic Wars. Now, we need a lot of individuals to serve in the Navy during that period against Napoleon Bonaparte, and often people were not really ready to volunteer to go out to sea and to fight for their life without much, recompensation. And so the Navy had to find clever ways to get them enlisted. And those ways might not always have been the most justified. Now, press gangs were 10 to 12 individuals that would go out into the streets of London, especially here in the docklands, where you had a lot of individuals who were very accustomed to naval life, or at least being out at sea. And they'd wait until these individuals, anywhere from the ages of 18 to 55, were incredibly drunk or just a bit wandering as they made their way through the streets of the docklands, and wait till they were kind of caught unaware and try to drop a shilling, a king's shilling, in their pocket. And if they could catch them with this shilling in the pocket, they could say, hey, that's the king's shilling. We gave it to you so you could join the Navy. And with no other way to prove this otherwise, these men would be enlisted into the military. Sometimes, though, they had to take the means into their own hands, and these press gangs would actually get these men incredibly drunk and then wait till they were at the bottom of their pint glass and drop a shilling at the bottom. It's actually why pubs started to have clear bottoms in the bottom of their tankards, so you could always check to make sure you haven't been enlisted in the Navy without realizing it. Some people say that's why we have glasses today instead of tankards. More likely it was just cheaper to make glasses. But nonetheless, press gangs were a very infamous sort of situation here in the Docklands area. You always wanted to make sure you were steady on your feet in this area, because if you didn't keep care of yourself, you might find yourself in the king's ship, making your way over to fight Napoleon Bonaparte. So, beautiful park for us. Might have been the place where many people enlisted in the Navy without meaning to. There you go, press gangs. So we've talked about a lot tonight, guys, from pirates to pint, sure, but so much otherwise as well. But this is a great place for us to finish. Behind me, you can see the beautiful Tower Bridge lit up by the sunset. But there's a lot of history that has to do with this bridge, that has to do with the Docklands as well. Now, this Docklands history is, yes, a lot of pirates history, which we had the golden age of pirates in the height of the 1700s, all the way even through into a little bit of the 1800s as well. And we've talked a little bit about how that changed the landscape of this area. But things change, always they do, it seems the case. As industrialism gets to a head, we start to make ships that are bigger, ships that need deeper water to run in, and we come up with the idea of what is containers, shipping containers and massive vessels to carry these shipping containers. And so the trade moves from London down the river, down towards the eastern part of England. And this area is left to fend for itself. Now, after World War II, much of it was left in flames as it had been destroyed by those bombs, and that left a new trade of crime to come through in the 1960s. It's where we saw the likes of the Cray twins and some of these other scavengers take on the Dockland area. But it all continues to change, and the tower would have seen, this Tower Bridge behind me would have seen quite a lot of that. But one of the more interesting, maybe more happy stories is about a bus driver. He was making his way on his regular route. He used to drive the 78, which, funnily enough, used to be my bus home. He was driving this bus. His name was Albert Gunter, and he's going across the Tower Bridge, which, of course, is a bridge that opens up to let tall ships through, when somebody seems to have not rung the alarm properly for the bus drivers, and he starts to drive across, and the bridge begins to open. And he has to make a split-second decision. And he makes the right decision. He decides to gun it across the bridge, jump the gap, saving all the passengers on board his bus. And the only real casualty was actually his broken leg. He was the only one to be injured in the incident, saving all these people's lives. You would think the government would want to reward him for his bravery. And they did. They gave him £10 and a day off work. But that's only about £300 to us today and a day off work. I think for saving lives, maybe he deserved a little bit more. But nonetheless, the Tower Bridge, a long history, been here since the late 1800s, would have seen some of the Docklands when it was at the height of its business and commerce, and now a place to have a nice walk across when you're making your way to the Tower of London, or making your way to meet me as we make our way down the River Thames for some pirates and some pint history. Next time, come with me, as I said. It's the best way to do this. Private tour with you and your family or you and your business. It's a great way to see London and get more out of what your experience can be in one of the greatest cities in the world. Tours by Foot London. My name's Carolina. Thanks for coming with me.